Looks Rashad
Gabriel Martinelli jusqu'au bout. Oh, il a fait l'exploit de Gabriel Martinelli. Le coast to coast façon NBA pour relancer les Gunners.
Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the Kenyan Gunners podcast with me, Omar Bashir. Ahmed cannot join us today. He's indisposed and probably will join us hopefully next week in our next episode, hopefully. In the meantime, we are going to, just before I begin actually, I'd just like to send out a message to everybody out there who might be listening to this. It's not getting very safe out there. Cases are rising, especially in Nairobi. So I would just like to put out a caution out for everybody out there. Wear your masks, stay socially distanced, and wash your hands, sanitize. Do the best that you can to protect yourself and your loved ones. So sort of an appeal to everybody to keep the distance, keep safe, and if there's no need to go out, please do stay at home. Right. Arsenal had a game yesterday against Dundalk, the mighty Dundalk of Ireland. So I'm just going to have, I know everybody's here to talk about or to listen about the preview against Manchester United away from home. But I'd just like to talk about the Europa League game before we get on to our special guest today. We're going to start with team news. I felt that I was very confident when I saw the team news. I expected some of the changes. I was excited about them. I was excited to see Runarsson make his debut. I was excited about Nelson playing on the left-hand side. I was excited about Willock making an appearance. So those are things that sort of excited me. I was interested as well to see how Kolasinac would fit in the centre-back position. We'll get more into that as the once I finish this. Maitland-Niles made an appearance as well. So it was a very interesting team, heavily rotated as expected. The lads have been a bit tired after the couple of games that they've had this season. And a rest was needed for some of them. And some of these players as well, as Mikel Arteta said, they needed game time. And I was interested in our shape, especially defensively. I think Kolasinac ended up playing as a left back. We saw Maitland-Niles become a central midfielder, and Xhaka, who was listed as in playing in midfield, was basically played at the centre back. And well, we couldn't really say how he performed in terms of that role because Dundalk really did not threaten. I think we nullified them as much as possible, but it might be slightly because they're not very good. I think we defended very well in the situations that we had to defend. Runarsson, I think, was impressive in whatever that he did. He had a save to make early in the first half, and then a couple of crosses and corners that he came in, claimed very confidently. He looked assured on the ball from what we could see from him, and it was very impressive on that front. Defensively, I think offensively is where a lot of the exciting things happened for Arsenal. Willock, I think, was given man of the match for Arsenal. Very impressive in his performance, I felt. Nelson, I think, for me, was the standout player, although he didn't get a goal. I think he was very, very impressive. His drive and initiative to create and to bring out something in terms of offensive situations, I think, was very, very encouraging to see. And I think with a performance like that, he puts himself in the crosshairs of the manager in terms of team selections in the more important games in the Premier League. It might have earned him a spot on the bench. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. First goal comes in around 40-something, maybe 42nd minute, I think it was. Eddie Nketiah, a very good crossing by Nelson. The goalkeeper, the Dundalk goalkeeper, made a big hash of it. And Nketiah sharply puts it in the back of the net. I was impressed by the sharpness in which he reacted to the loose ball. I felt that it was very, very impressive on that front. Shows a natural instinct as the striker that he is. So credit to him for that. A couple of minutes later, we scored the second goal, 2-0. I think Pepe was in very good position. He should have passed to Joe in that situation, but the ball ended up in Joe Willock's path, and he finished the ball emphatically. I think one of the better finishes of the day. Then I think just after halftime, Pepe scores an absolute fantastic goal, rolls it with his studs on his left, and then, without any backlifts, puts the ball into the top corner. Absolutely sensational goal. For those who haven't seen the goal, just go and have a look at it. It's absolute show of technique and ability that this lad has. And just hoping a bit of consistency. Consistency. I've not had lunch, guys. So anyway, I think overall, apart from the goals, I think it was very impressive. The sort of performances, debuts for, of course, Balogun came on, did very well. But of course, our focus will go to Nelson and Joe Willock, who I think were very, very impressive and created most of the situations in terms of offensive ability. Which leaves us, I think we are now at the top of the group. 2 games, 2 wins, 6 points. Ahead on goal difference ahead of Molde, who we face at home next Thursday, I believe. So that should be interesting to watch. Who will qualify or claim top spot outright in terms of points, and that'll be very interesting to see. So I think it leaves us in a very good position. Very good that the big boys, Oba, Laka, didn't really, get any game time. They needed the rest. So it was good to have them not play this game, have them rested. Of course, Manchester United played on the Wednesday, so they have 24 hours more to prepare. And if you can rest some of your big players, I think it helps as well. Saka as well was rested. Gabriel was rested as well. So that was very, very important in terms of our game on Sunday. So I felt overall it was a good game, good result, perfectly how we wanted it to go. We rotated the squad heavily and we got the result, and the clean sheet as well to boot. So overall, good night for Arsenal. And Arteta said as much as well in his post-match press conference. My goodness. Where he was very, very buoyant about the results and about the performance as well, I think, because we had 25 shots, the first time that has ever happened under Mikel Arteta. So, good game all around. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. So I guess we will just have to wait and see what happens on Sunday. Of course, coming up on the back of the Leicester defeat. Manchester United, another decent opposition, who are in sort of a good headspace at this moment in time, feeling very confident, playing some good stuff. They've got some great players as well. So we'll preview that in the second part of the show. Hope you guys will tune in for that. But for now, I think we will come back to part 2. We're done with part 1, I think. And we will be back with part 2 with our special guest right after this. Welcome back to part 2 of the Kenyan Gooners podcast. You can follow us on our various social media sites on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Kenya Gooners Pod. Right, we have a special guest today. He's been on here before, of course, but special nonetheless. Welcome, Suheil.
Hi, how are you?
I am hungry. But I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into it. All right. We face Man United. Arsenal face Manchester United over the weekend at Old Trafford. I don't know what time it is, but I'm sure we will all know by Sunday. A very, especially for fans in Kenya, very historical game. A big game. I think it's the game that most fans look forward to because of when Premier League, of course, came to Kenya. That was the big rivalry: the Arsenal versus Manchester United, the ones that normally the two teams that went for the title. Of course, having said that, both teams come into this game in the bottom half of the table. So we can see, of course, with very many different prevailing problems where these two different teams are. But I think Arsenal's issues, both positive and negative, have been highlighted in this podcast before. So, but I think for our listeners who don't follow Manchester United, maybe Suheil, you can give us a brief overview where Manchester United are at this season, how they finished last season. Where do you think they are at the moment?
Okay. So last season was an up and down season, of course. You could probably divide last season into pre Bruno Fernandes and post Bruno Fernandes. So pre Bruno, we were struggling, especially against the smaller teams. We were struggling to create any chances, and Solskjaer was facing a lot of heat for that. Claims that his style of play wasn't suitable for Man United. His style of play was pragmatic and the likes. You know, we've seen it all over social media and the media itself. Post Bruno Fernandes, when Fernandes joined, he added a spark that United didn't have. He added a creative spark, and not just a creative spark, but also a leadership, a sense of leadership. Whenever I watch Bruno Fernandes, he's always instructing his teammates, you know, in terms of pressing, to go there and press the different positions, go and like cover the spaces, and things like that you just didn't see over the first half of the season. And the signing of Bruno, as I said, ignited it ignited a run of form where United ended this United didn't lose a game in the Premier League from the time they signed Bruno Fernandes to the end of last season.
Impressive.
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and yeah, they only lost 2 games in that period since Bruno Fernandes joined, from February to August. Those were the Europa League semi-final and the FA Cup semi-final. I'd say we started the season on the back foot, but I think there was an overreaction from the media and the fans, because you have to realize that United ended the season later than any other English team, and then their players went on a two-week holiday.
Yeah.
And then when they came back, they had to be quarantined. So on the first day of preseason training, Solskjaer only had 4 first-team players in the training session. That is not ideal. That is not an ideal preseason setup. And we only played 1 game in which we lost to Aston Villa. But in that game, the only person who is a regular starter that played was there was only 2 players that played that were regular starters. Those were Marcus Rashford and Luke Shaw. The rest were all, squad players. And walking into the first game of the season, you could see it. It was clear as day, with Paul Pogba trying to recover from COVID. the rest of the team trying to get up to speed. We were playing teams that had a lengthier preseason, and their fitness levels were a lot higher than where United's were. So those first 3 games where we played Palace, Brighton, and Tottenham, we lost 2 of those 3 games, and we were shambolic against Brighton. We were very lucky to get the win, but I felt like everyone, the bust up that came up from it, especially after the Spurs game, where people were claiming that Solskjaer has lost the dressing room, players were getting into fights, and all those rumors. I feel those were over. Would I say it was overreaching? I don't think there were many problems. Yes, there were problems off the field in terms of transfers. Ed Woodward not getting the transfer targets that Solskjaer wanted to help build the team, and we ended up signing 3 players who were never on Solskjaer's transfer list: Cavani, Telles, and Facundo Pellistri, and a fourth who's going to join in January from Atlanta in Ahmad Traore. Of course, Pellistri and Traore are both 18-year-olds, so I don't think Solskjaer is going to throw them right into the deep end. He's going to take his time with them. But I think since the international break and the transfer window closing, United have looked a much better team, and that's mainly been due to the fact that their fitness levels are coming up. You can see players looking a whole lot fitter, not looking like they're running dogged and trying to catch their breath. And Solskjaer is rotating now with the number of fixtures that we've played in the last few weeks, and the opposition that we've played. I think if you're a United fan and you're watching the start of the season and post, like pre international break and post international break, I think you should have signs of belief that this season could actually be a very good one, because the team just feels a whole lot different, and you could sense that, especially in the performances against PSG and Leipzig on Wednesday, because that performance looked like a proper team. Players playing for the manager, and we haven't had that in a while. It always felt like the players were just playing for themselves, and once things went sideways, them and the manager just never saw eye to eye, and they just waited for the manager to just get sacked and introduce another manager. But in this case, I think these players actually play for the manager. They actually believe in what the manager is telling them, and we're seeing it. We're slowly starting to see the fruits of it. Of course, it's still going to be an up and down season, because I still feel like we're missing a couple of elements here and there, but I feel like the signs are very promising, to be honest.
Right, of course. I think me and Ahmed spoke about the lack of what is it?
Creativity?
No. The lack of preseason that affected Manchester United's start. I think we spoke about it briefly. Both Man United and City, of course, had long summers. They, of course, were in the Champions League and the Europa League, respectively. And both teams have started indifferently, as you've seen. But, of course, United now getting back on track, and City, well, who cares about City anyways? So... it's just, I think you're spot on with that assessment. I feel that I also have the same feeling about the whole situation that Manchester United, I think, suffered from that lack of rest time because they had a pretty long season as well. And I feel that going into it, I think now United certainly finding their feet and doing really well. I want to talk about the game now on the weekend. Arsenal, of course, coming back on the back of a defeat in the Premier League against Leicester. Arsenal, I think, have lost their last 2 games. I think it was City away and then Leicester at home, both 1-0 results, where very different games, but sort of similar reactions. I think more amplified in the Leicester game, but even in the City game, there was concerns of creativity on the part of Arsenal. Amplified, of course, in the Leicester game, but I felt also in the Manchester City game we didn't really offer much in terms of an offensive threat. And I feel as well in such a game like this, that would become an issue. And you spoke about that the pre-Bruno Fernandes signing and the post-Bruno Fernandes signing. How that signing affected the creativeness of Manchester United's midfield, and sort of what Arsenal are lacking at the moment, certainly lacking in the squad. We'll not get into the Mesut Ozil thing. We don't have that sort of player who can create from that final third space area in terms of
I think I mentioned it when I came on after the Fulham game. I did mention that you guys were in desperate need of a player of similar to ours qualities.
Yes. Yeah. Well, of course, the Omar. I think to be fair to Mikel Arteta, I think they did try to sign Houssam Aouar. There was news that came out speaking. I think it was the brother who wanted a very big agent fee. So I think we pulled out of that deal because at the end we couldn't afford it. We ended up going for Partey. I think Partey was a player that we needed, but I didn't think that he was the priority this year. I think he was probably said, look, we'll probably get him next year. Let's get Omar. I think Omar was the one that we needed now. Obviously, we couldn't get him, but I think we just went for Partey. I think Partey is a good signing. He improves us in midfield in terms of his technical security. His passing range as well, I think, is very, very underrated. He will improve us. But looking onwards to the game, I think also it alludes to a question I want to ask, also alludes to a question that we were asked on Twitter. Let me seem to have lost it. Comes from IG Igueo at Igueo. He says, can you predict what the best lineup would look like for both teams? So I will ask you for the Man United one.
I honestly think that Solskjaer. I think Solskjaer will revert to the 4-3-1 on Sunday. I do think that's the best lineup considering Arsenal's Mikel Arteta, because he wouldn't want to be caught on the counter. So I do think, of course, De Gea would start. The probably itself in terms of Wan-Bissaka, Lila, Maguire, and Luke Shaw. In midfield, I think he will start McTominay and Fred. I think that is the best for the double pivot, because with McTominay and Fred, they bring in energy that you just don't see with any other double pivot that United currently have.
Yeah, I think as well. Just to cut in, I think Fred and McTominay offer a balance to the team in terms
they do.
of the security, in terms of the ball progression as well. And I think in terms of defensive actions, I think they offer a better balance towards the whole thing
Yeah, they do.
compared to
They
other
do.
midfield combinations.
He is gonna go with Bruno Fernandes in the number 10 role, especially after bringing him on as a sub against Leipzig. Marcus Rashford will start on the wing. We'll probably see Matt coming in on the right wing and Cavani to make his first start because
Cavani will
Martial
start?
is still suspended. I think Cavani will start. I think the minutes that Solskjaer has given him so far, I think he'll start, but he won't play the full 90 minutes. I think he'll play probably until the 65th to the 70th minute, and then Solskjaer will try to switch it up.
I was actually interested to see because, of course, Arsenal had the difficult problem this year in terms of our chance creation. I thought I was something was telling me maybe Manchester United could go the Leicester route in terms of giving Arsenal the ball because they know they can create, and then probably getting the Arsenal on the counter because, of course, Manchester United, with the pace they have up front, I think are probably one of the best counter-attacking sides in Europe at the moment. So I feel maybe that is an option, or do you think that Solskjaer wants to take the game to Arsenal?
I think he'll want to take the game to Arsenal. I think because he's at Old Trafford,
Mm.
he wouldn't want to necessarily just sit back. I think he will respect Arsenal, but I think at the same time he's going to want to have a foothold of the game, to have the upper hand in the game, and I think he's going to try. He's going to start with. He's going to want his team to start with a lot more energy, so as to try and get the opening goal and put Arsenal on the back foot early.
Well, I think that's a decent team. I'd be pretty confident about that. In terms of Arsenal, I actually have no idea who is going to play. I think we have a massive issue in our defense. I think David Luiz is injured. Have lots of injuries in that front, so I think we only have the only fit centre backs that we have are Gabriel and
Is it Mustafi?
Mustafi, of course, is a player who I have very strong feelings about. So I'm not really confident about that. I think we'll go with Bellerin and Tierney on the sides. I think they've had pretty good, decent starts to the season. Partey will start in midfield. I think we'll probably go with sort of the same formation, 4-3-3 that we had against Leicester. I think that's Arsenal's formation moving forward. I completely agree with it. I think we'll have Partey, Xhaka, Ceballos. And then I think in the forward line is where it gets interesting because I think we had a very long discussion in the last episode with Ahmed about the role that Lacazette plays currently at Arsenal. And I was just wondering, and of course, Mikel Arteta mentioned in one of the press conferences this week that he might be tempted to play Aubameyang through the middle. So we could have an Aubameyang playing a centre forward, but more advanced, sort of a different centre forward to what Lacazette plays. And then we probably have Saka on the left, Pepe on the right. I think that looks fairly balanced, in my opinion. But whether Arteta will go with that, I have no idea. I think maybe we'll have, of course, Pepe started yesterday, so he might be coming off the bench. I think we might see Saka. I think we might see Willian and Oba. We could see Laka. I honestly have no idea who's going to play up front. But if I was to put my money onto it, I'd say I'd have it as Oba, then Laka, and then Saka. I think that's what Arteta would go for, but I think that has shown it's not really balanced, but we'll just have to wait and see. But I think either way, I think there will be very, very big problems in terms of creativity, how we can get at the United team. I think for me in most of these games, I think that's my major concern. I think defensively, I think we are okay. I'm not saying we're brilliant, but I think we can ride through a game or so. But whether we can, sustain offensive pressure, I don't think we are able to do that at the moment. So I would be concerned about that going into the game.
Yeah, I was going to say that he's probably going to start Aubameyang through the middle and Saka and Willian due to the fact that he started Pepe on the right yesterday.
Yeah. It could be any of the. I think we'll have to wait and see about that. You've got a question?
Yeah, it is from Chickboy. It's Ahmad. After the Leicester game, has your trust in Arteta gone down? Ama mambo mazuri bado.
I have complete and total faith in Mikel Arteta. I think he's a very intelligent coach in what he's trying to do. I have questions over him, over certain decisions that he makes, but that does not mean I do not believe in what he's trying to do. I think it's fair that you ask questions about something that you have issues about, but that does not necessarily mean that you're totally against what the manager is going on about, because I felt that a lot of what he did, especially in the Leicester game, didn't make sense. I think he overthought a lot of things about the game, and I think he just needs to keep it simple at times. He's got, very good players in the squad, not as good as other teams, admittedly, but he's got good players none the same. And I feel that he should utilize the strengths of the players that he has, and I'm sure he'll be able to. If he can do that, and of course maintain the structure of the team, then I think we can have a fairly decent season. So, to answer the question, I have complete trust and faith in Mikel Arteta and what he's trying to do at Arsenal.
Yeah, I think it's best for Arsenal fans, man, because I don't think he's given a reason worthy enough not to trust him. I think he's done more good than bad at Arsenal.
Yeah,
so,
he's won a trophy. He's won a trophy. I think people forget that. I think the problem that we have now with fans that we sort of have knee-jerk reactions to results and games. I think we sort of forget. If you look at the comparisons. I mean, Mikel Arteta has won a trophy. Lampard has spent all that money, still fluttering, in my opinion, in terms of the league. We need to take things into consideration, things like that. He's done very, very well with what he's been given, and I think we just need to give him time to do his work.
I'm 100% with you on that. Okay, another question from Munir. Which team is better equipped at the moment to finish in the top four? Arsenal, United, or neither?
United, I think they've more because of the quality. I think especially in midfield. I think in midfield is where the quality, if you compare the two teams, the quality is vast, in my opinion. You've got players like Paul Pogba, who I feel is one of the most talented players in the league, but doesn't really get the recognition that he deserves. You've got Bruno Fernandes in there. You've got players like Juan Mata who have that ability. McTominay has come leaps and bounds since his debut. With Fred, who is very technically sound. It's a very well-balanced team. Once you put the right players around each other, I think it's a very balanced midfield. I think that's, for me, where the difference comes in both teams. And I think that would would put United over Arsenal in terms of finishing the top four, in my opinion?
I think those are all the Arsenal questions.
Yeah. We have a lot of Manchester United questions, so I already asked one. I think I'll just get one to you. Interesting one from my good friend Sardinho _10 at Sad _ Hamumi. He says, the diamond sparked on Wednesday night. Is this the solution going forward because it seems to suit most of our key players, or will it be brought out on special occasions only?
I think, with the diamond formation, you need players to you need the right players to execute it. Now, do United have those players? Yes. Should it be played every time? No, because here's the problem with it. The reason why the diamond works so well on Wednesday is because Leipzig are a team that press through the center. If you watch Leipzig play, they're a team that press through the center, and what United did so well on Wednesday was they kind of compacted. They made that central space very narrow, forcing Leipzig to go out wide. And the minute that they went out wide, Fred and Pogba were immediately on them. You had different circumstances where sometimes Martial was pressing, sometimes Van de Beek was pressing a certain area. I don't think the diamond formation should be used every time. I think it needs. It depends on the team that Solskjaer is playing, and I think sticking to one kind of formation is actually very dangerous because you're kind of playing into predictability, Yeah. And teams will eventually learn how to play against you. I think Solskjaer has proven that over the last 4 games, he's used 3 different formations. He's used a 4-2-3-1, which worked effectively against Newcastle. Of course, we drew against Chelsea, but I felt like we were the better team in that game. Then you had the PSG game where he switched to back 3, and then you have the Leipzig game where he switched to a diamond. So I think it depends on the quality of the opposition. It depends on the style of play of the opposition, and Solskjaer will tactically tweak something depending on the team that they're playing.
That's very interesting. I think basically United will adapt to the situations as presented to them. And that leads very nicely to our next question. Comes from Wallace at Waffles. He says, does Ole have a style of play?
Yes. I find that question very ridiculous. I saw that question and
I asked it because I asked it because I okay, maybe it's because I don't watch a lot of United games, but I was trying to understand what is the I don't like the word philosophy, but what is the style, or what is he trying to bring out? What kind of football is he trying to play at United? I think that's what I think it's a question personally I have struggled with. So I think that's why I was interested in such a question.
Because the kind of football that he's trying to play at United is he's said that from the day he entered into the job, when it was just a caretaker job. Mm-hmm. He wanted to implement the United style of play, and I thought a lot of people were very kind of they were very what's the word that I'm looking for? Very negative to that reaction, saying, "Oh, you should leave that in the past." But here's the thing, right? It's an attacking style of play that I don't understand, because people keep on saying that when he plays the big teams, it's park the bus and counter. That team is not just a counter-attacking team. That team is a high-pressing team. If you look at the energy that they press teams with, especially against the big teams, the energy that they press teams with, you look at the way the way they played against PSG. You go to games last season when they played against the likes of City, when they played the likes of Chelsea, when they played the big six teams. You could see that there's a system in place. You could see that there is an ideology in place. It's not. Yes, there's periods of time where the team sits and then springs on the counter, but it's not just a full 90 minutes of, oh, I'm just gonna park the bus and then I'm gonna hit this team with a counterattack. If you go and rewind to the derby back all the way back in December, both derby games actually in the league, I thought that those were some of the best performances I had seen from the Solskjaer team.
Mm-hmm.
The pressing, the energy, the football that they played was a clear ideology of what the manager wanted. It was a clear representation of Solskjaer's style of play, and it showed. Those games showed what Solskjaer wanted his team to be about: a high pressing team that is both sound defensively and can be very ruthless attacking. That is the style of play, and these comments of always just a PE teacher. A PE teacher won't go and beat teams the likes of City and PSG and Leipzig and not just beat them, but actually win convincingly. Because I felt in most of the big games that we've won convincingly. We've been the better team.
Tactically as well.
Yeah, exactly. He's outclassed managers that you'd say are very, very top of the line when it comes to tactics.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. He's got some big notches on his belt. I feel that I think he's at a point in his Manchester United career where he needs the proper backing from the board. I think there's this sort of vicious cycle at United where they bring in a manager, he's backed, he's backed by the board, and then he's backed up to a certain point. And then when like the certain push is needed for, okay, we need the final push so that we can be challenging for titles, they sort of go half in half. We've seen it happen with Mourinho. Is it probably happening now with Ole? I don't know.
It is, because I think Solskjaer made it very clear at the back end of last season that he wanted players, and I think his number one target was Jadon Sancho. The fact that they didn't go out to try and get that number one target for the manager, and also when they saw that number one target was not going to, like, it was not possible to bring him in, the fact that they also didn't look at clear alternatives, that speaks a lot about the United board and Ed Woodward in particular.
But just to play devil's advocate, maybe they thought that the deal couldn't be done. I think Dortmund were, in my point of view, were haggling for a very, very high price at a very difficult market. And maybe Solskjaer said, look, I want Sancho or nobody else. If I can't get Sancho, I don't want somebody else. I only want Sancho. So if we can't get him now, maybe if we can get him in January, or if we can get him in the summer, fine. But let's not get somebody else. Sort of like the same thing happened with Liverpool with Van Dijk. They tried to sign him in the summer. They couldn't get him. Klopp said, look, I only want Van Dijk. If we can't get Van Dijk, let's wait until we can get him. And they eventually got their man. So maybe it's another ploy in that situation that, look, maybe we won't get him this year, maybe we'll get him next year? Do you think maybe something of that ilk, or probably more of not having a strategic plan on how to strengthen the squad?
I think it's a little bit more on strategic plan on not being able to strengthen the squad. I think it's because we've seen this story play out with. I felt it started all the way back with David Moyes. That story started with David Moyes. I thought Van Gaal was backed properly, well enough to be able to play better football than he did. I think Van Gaal has only himself to blame for the happenings at his time at United.
Yeah.
I think with Mourinho, they didn't back him well enough. On the season, after the season that he finished second, the signings that they made were Fred, Dalot, and Lee Grant. I'm sorry, but with all due respect to all those three players, those are not the players that you need to be title challengers.
Yeah, completely agree with you on that. I have another question from IG Igueo at Igueo. He says, should we expect a legendary derby, Arsenal vs Manchester United game?
I don't think so. I think it'll be. I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah. I would probably say the same. I think it's gonna be. I don't know neither Man
It's gonna
United.
be a tight game.
I think Arsenal are gonna want to keep it tight, keep it clean as much as possible. Basing on the evidence that we've seen, because we've faced a couple of big sides already, Arsenal. So I think from that evidence, I think we sort of Arteta doesn't like to throw the kitchen sink, shall we say, at games. So I don't think we will see that from Arsenal. United as well, I think he will have Ole will go in with a confident but cautious state. He knows that he has the team to beat Arsenal, but he will not want to give Arsenal the reins in terms of giving them the ability to create havoc at the back. So I think we'll have a muted game. I don't know. I think the game will be determined on the smallest of margins. I feel.
I have the same feeling, to be honest. Okay, a question. If it's from Stai at Ndirango Daniel. He asks, if we don't finish in the top 4, should we have a conversation about Mikel Arteta? Yes or no?
No.
I'll be the first to say no, because I don't think he had to judge a manager. He needs to have all the players that all the quality of players that he wants and needs in the team. I think that is the only point where you start really judging a manager. Mikel Arteta has had 2 transfer windows so far. The January, which is a very stale window. We know not much happens. I think we got lucky with the signing of Bruno Fernandes. But not much happens during that transfer window. And then in this past summer transfer window, we know the implications of COVID and what the market. So I think it's not fair to judge Mikel Arteta just yet. I think Arsenal fans need to give him that. But I said the same. I've always felt that time, to get the players that he wants and the players that he needs into this team, and to have a fully fit squad to choose from, and only then can you start judging the man and the job that he's doing. I think the same applies for Mikel Arteta. I do think he needs all the quality of players that that's needed in that team, and only after that can we start really saying whether Arteta's time at Arsenal is indeed a positive success or a failure.
Yeah, I sort of agree with those lines. I think Arsenal fans definitely expect an improvement of what was a very, very dismal season last year in terms of our league standings. Whether we can improve on that, I think that would also advise on Arsenal's fans' feelings on how the seasons will have gone. I think our Europa League campaign, I think also as well will be very important. I think top four might be out of our reach, going by how we are currently having a problem in terms of creating. I think Europa League may prove to be a very decent avenue to go through. So I think but I think most of the Arsenal fans will certainly look at this as a long-term plan. I think probably look into next year when he's had another summer transfer window after a decent. This is basically his first full season at Arsenal, so it's still very, very early to make any judgments on what kind of manager he is. But we have seen already that he's been able to be offer a positive influence on the team and on the club as a general, because as I keep on telling people, he has won a trophy. That is very, very underrated. Pochettino, for all that the good that he did at Tottenham, didn't win a single trophy, and that in the end was his undoing at the club. Mikel Arteta has already put that notch under he's already done with that. He's already won a trophy, so he doesn't have to worry about that. He's now sort of released a bit of pressure off himself and try to now focus on improving the team and in where he can improve. Of course, I feel the board has his backing. Of course, there were rumors on the Thomas Partey deal that the Cronkies actually put some of their own money into the deal because they needed the 45 million pounds paid in lump sum. That's how the release clauses work in Spain. So I think they released some of their own personal funds for the deal. So I feel that they believe in what he's trying to do. I think a combination like that can only be helpful for Mikel Arteta. But I think it's still too early to judge. I think whatever happens, I think he's going in the right direction, and I think the discussion over his future should not be discussed anytime soon.
Yeah. Time for one last question. Oh, Wallace at Waffles is asking why is Pogba not starting. I think I mentioned that earlier in the show. I said Paul Pogba is still recovering from COVID. I think Solskjaer has mentioned that as well. We don't know how COVID affects the body. You know, it affects everyone very differently. You know, some people barely lift a glass when they get infected by COVID. So yeah, it's because of his infection to COVID. He still needs time to recover from it. You know, you could see clear as day that Paul Pogba was not fully recovered from the illness. So I'd say just give it a little bit of time, and I think over the next few weeks we'll start seeing a lot of Pogba.
Okay. I hear you. I think I sort of agree with you as well. Also, he as well not had a proper rest after the summer competition in the Europa League. So I think that also plays into that. I think time is needed with him, and I feel that Ole is trying to give him that time. So I think it's just a matter of time before he gets back to his best. I will want to end with predictions. What are your predictions for the game in terms of who do you think will shine in the game, and what do you think the result will be?
I think we'll see. I think we'll see Dr. Marcus Rashford, MBE, scoring a couple. I think he's backing himself in form. I think United will win 2-1. Pretty confident of that.
2-1, I think, as well to United. I think they, as I said in the beginning of, they are at a better headspace currently. I think as well they have more to offer in terms of their offensive ability. Whereas Arsenal's, I think my prediction as well also plays into the fact that I don't think we can create a lot as well. So I feel that we can defend, I think, but the problem is now, can we go ahead and create the chances to go and win the game, enough chances to win the game? At this moment in time, I'm not convinced. So I'd probably say 2-1 to United as well.
I think that's the time we have for questions, right?
Yeah. I think unless maybe there's a question you want to ask me.
Yeah. I don't have any questions.
All right, then I guess we'll just have to end it there. Thank you, Suheil, for joining us today. I think our Man United fans will be very, very interested to listen to this podcast. Thank you as well to all our listeners.
Thank you for
Absolutely, you're welcome. Anytime, you're welcome back to on the podcast. Thank you as well to all our listeners. We really appreciate all that you do for us on our various social media sites. Thank you as well to all those who send in your questions. Final reminder to everybody: look, cases are rising in Kenya again, so just keep safe, keep your distance, sanitize, hydrate, and keep safe, guys. Kwaheri.